There is a fake emotional connection to Marvel that is so over the top now.
Especially
so
this
ridiculous.
franchise in Marvel.
Yes. So this says Black Panther 2 crucial post-credit scene makes emotional Marvel fans sob in public. Now, guys, we're gonna spoil the post-credit scene if you haven't seen it already.
Put in some earplugs, but keep playing the live stream. It helps our members.
Basically, Shuri travels to, is it back to Haiti? Right?
Yeah, back to Haiti. Nope.
She goes to see
Haiti.
Yes, she goes to see Nakia.
She goes to see Nakia, and they find out that essentially that T'Challa has a secret son, which is, by the way, it's so soap opera.
Right.
It goes into soap opera territory where they're like, and he had a kid. Then next we're gonna find out that he has an evil twin.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're gonna do. And so basically you find out that him and her had a son, and she's raising him here away from the temptations and pressures of
we found out that T'Challa specifically requested she not attend his funeral.
Which, hey, at least they addressed it. At least it could have been worse. It could have been like, what if they're like, they don't address that? Does that really make sense? Not really.
His request makes no sense.
But it's weirder. But it's weirder if they don't address the fact that she didn't show up at all, and he did want her to go.
I mean, the idea that he also wanted to keep them both away from Wakanda and the pressures of the throne, I find that request also hard to believe.
Yeah. So people
that's not what happened to him, right? Like, and you get this line, big spoiler, but it's like, my secret name is like Prince T'Challa, like I'm the heir to the throne, or like son of King T'Challa or whatever. And it's like, okay, so you've got this buildup of he is going to be the next king, but you're not putting him in the environment where you're groomed for it, and that is literally the reason. That's the argument for monarchy, is that you have people who are born and bred into the role of the monarch, into being the leader of that kingdom. And how do they do that? By being around the constituency, by being in the palaces, by being trained to be a warrior. And you just don't get that with the kid. And instead, we're going to put you in like a public school in Haiti.
Yeah.
If anything, it would make him harder to follow if he became king later, because he would have no connection to his.
And then there's this remaining cliffhanger where the throne is about to get challenged by M'Baku, and wouldn't the kid benefit from?
Well, that kid's gonna have to muscle up because Winston Duke is beefy.
But the kid was cute, by the way. Yeah. I liked that little actor. He was sweet. Yep. And likable.
Like the corn kid.
Just like the corn kid, Kai pointed out, and I was like, yes, that is why I like him.
So here's some of the tweets that were said from people. This says, when I tell you Black Panther made me sob in the theater. And then somebody else says, light spoilers, the Black Panther credit scene absolutely wrecked me. Wow.
T'Challa knowing he will die, so he named his child after him. No. I cried so hard. I'm telling you.
I have this question. Is this a sign of just like we're in a society now where like people have so little emotional connection in the real world that they're starved for anything they feel a connection to? So even something like this is enough to make them.
This feels Pentecostal.
Yep. Explain that.
It feels like religious emotivism, where, you know, like stand up if you've gotten saved today, and everyone has to like start pretending to speak in tongues and writhe on the floor and sob their eyes out, because otherwise you're not truly allegiant to the faith.
Yeah, you don't really care
that's what
about
this
the
feels
movies.
like.
Well, even the people at the theater were like, it felt like that, like a lot of people were laughing at stuff that was like
the forced laughter at every unfunny joke made me so like it made me seethe in my seat just hearing them like do this drawn out response to a joke that legitimately wasn't that funny.
There's a scene where Riri Williams is like, to be young, black, and gifted, and
people were like
it's like, oh, so true, so
queen.
True, queen. So true.
In general, I feel like this speaks to kind of the degradation of our connection to real world humans.
Yep.
Like you're so starved for any or it could also speak to the lack of exposure to like real emotionally connected movies.
Yeah.
Like they haven't like this is a different class of film goer, right? Mm-hmm. Like maybe these are the people that do need to go see the Steven Spielberg movies that
the Fablemans,
all the movies that we're going to make fun of because they're so full of themselves that they're still kind of annoying. But
Yeah.
maybe you do need like a wider range of films in your life so that you can understand that this is not the height of emotional connection.
Yeah, well, it's instead of like having actual relationships now where you see somebody over a course of time or a period of time, you've got, I have known this person through like each subsequent movie installment.
That's how they feel.
That is
Right.
how they feel. It's this relationship
feel
that's
like I've
built up
grown
over
up with
paying
this-
$10 every other year.
Oh, that's a creepy like
It's like a subscription service
to a friendship, to an emotional connection.
So it's it's Marvel OnlyFans. You're
Ew.
paying
Yep.
you're paying every month so that you can feel emotionally
Feel
connected
human emotions.
and look, the audience is agreeing. What we've got right now is we've got a 94% audience score and an 85% critic score. One thing that I've noticed is as much as critics and audiences fight back and forth about who agrees with what in movies and television, the critics have been harsher to Marvel movies lately than the fans have. It feels like whatever Marvel craps out, the fans are like, thank you very
Yeah.
much. Fantastic.
Yum.
I love
Yummy.
it. Yummy.
Love my gruel.
At the very least, the critics seem to give it a more fair score. And I liked a couple of reviews. I saw a couple of positive ones and a couple of negative ones. I usually don't watch reviews before we talk about a movie. But in this case, I was curious because I was surprised that the audience score was higher. But that seems to be the general case with most of the Marvel properties now. The critic score ends up somewhere in the 80s. It was a little bit lower for some of them, but like then you get movies like The Eternals, which literally no one in their right mind could like. Nobody, and everybody crapped on that. So it's just.
I thought that the critic scores were going to be like raving about this film just because of the way that the marketing built it up to be a cultural milestone.
Like The Woman King. Same
Right.
thing happened there. Yeah.
See, but I don't
Same
think that's.
situation.
I didn't think that was what was going to happen because, in my opinion, there was too much conflict between the blue. Well, it's not the blue checkmark class anymore, guys. The
Now
$8.
we're
The
all the
$8 a month class.
proletariat, yep.
Wait, is it $8 once or is it $8 once a month?
Oh, I think it's once a
per
month.
Yeah.
Okay. There's too much conflict between the elitist class and the plebs about whether T'Challa should have been recasted or not, which automatically drew a little bit of divide between people. That and the fact that the former blue checkmark class didn't like Letitia Wright because she basically said, "I'm not sure if I want to take the vaccine." Early on in the pandemic, and then she got labeled as like an anti-vaxxer.
They took Wakanda Forever out of their bios.
Yeah,
when they saw that.
they took the fist.
But
out.
enough time passed where people were able to memory hole that, or at least pretend that it didn't happen.
I didn't even hear about it, so it must have been.
Yeah, so that was there was like a lot of that was at the height of like the look at this person. They don't have a picture of Fauci in their profile.
They claimed that Letitia Wright's non-compliance in relation to getting the vaccine
caused
the
problems,
set,
which
caused them to fully stop production,
which was proven wrong.
Yeah, it was proven wrong, and it was
injured.
actually that she got injured in one of those motorcycle scenes.
I will call her out a little bit. I did read an article the other day where she talked about how she like dealing with her injury on set when this happened. She's like, I'm still dealing with it in therapy. Like,
hopefully physical therapy.
That's my hope.
To deal with your meniscus.
But to be fair, she's tiny. She's like this wide. She's itty bitty. Like it's weird that she has the most all of this on her shoulders because she's that tiny. It's also interesting that I think it works because she does. You said earlier she's got a really.
I love her voice.
She's got an amazing.
She's got a very
cadence.
cute voice.
Yeah. So like a lot of those scenes where she's talking in a low, she's talking very low.
She's talking somberly.
Yeah. And that works
Yeah.
right there. So it's just, I feel like our culture needs to find a place again where maybe we connect with real people just a little bit more so that we're not looking to the fictional world of Wakanda for emotional connection. Remember, after the first Black Panther came out, people went on like Travelocity and looked up how to take trips to Wakanda.
Yeah.
Because I'm imagining that those are probably the same people who are crying outside of.
Dude, I saw a tweet that said like, stop asking when we can have a white version of Wakanda. That's just every sci-fi movie ever.
No, the funniest thing to me me is it's not only this like kind of emotional like rewriting that people do. It's also the historical, where they see an absence of something. They're like, okay, well, we have to do this thing justice. The colonizer's story has been told. Yeah. It's time to tell the story of the Aztec Empire, like they tried to do in this movie.
There's a lot of that in this movie.
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, it could have been so much better. Like because honestly, like Tenochtitlan and like some of these places in the Aztec Empire were unironically kind of impressive places, right? Yeah. So if they would have, built this up as like, look, we are in this Aztec Empire, and then the Spanish come, and the smallpox, whatever. It's like, yeah, smallpox really sucked.
That part felt shoehorned in.
It totally really shoehorned.
They had to become sea mutants in order to escape smallpox.
Yeah, and they didn't even escape. Yeah, they didn't escape from like the Aztec Empire, which was now being overrun. They escaped from like this small village, and then they come back, and it's like now there's like colonial type houses and slavery. It's like, if you look at the Aztecs, it's like that is like human sacrifice. They would like kill people in ritual and eat them. And so it's always silly to me when they do that rewriting.
General feeling that Namor is right, but you just don't want to admit it. Yeah. Like Namor wants to take revenge on the colonizing class, but you're just too noble to admit that he's right for that. And it was the same thing from Killmonger. Yeah. Like the asshole you don't want to admit is right.
Chadwick Boseman doesn't die. There's at least one scene where Namor comes out of the water and says, "Namor, Mr. Nice Guy."
I wish. Yeah.
Yeah. I will give that actor credit. I thought he did fine in his role. We're getting back into like a bit of a review element.
It was going to blend together anyway.
Look, guys. Did you ever see the movie 300?
Yes.
You're Hollywood. There's steroids. Get these guys some steroids and like tighten up those figures if they're going to be shirtless.
I didn't think that, but okay.
Well, you know what? Here we have the modern woman, the dad bod appreciator.
I'm not going to shame Namor. I'm not going to body shame Namor. Okay.
No, you know what? We have to return to tradition. I want 80s. I want Sylvester Stallone. I want Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah. These guys have no excuse. You're getting millions of dollars. Even Robert Pattinson, who I have a ton of respect for, because he said, you know what, for Batman, I'm not going to do steroids. I don't want to do that. That's awesome. He didn't look bad, though. This guy was still pretty ripped. He was lower weight. He wasn't huge, but he was still pretty ripped. There's no excuse. There is millions and millions of dollars going into this movie.
Shouldn't be that many shots of his back without more defined back
You do
muscles.
Not get to be skinny. You need to be putting up PRs before every single shoot with your shirt off. There's no excuses.
They did that when Kumail Nanjiani got hired for the Eternals, and then they showed this, like, he had like a Men's Health cover where he's just absolutely, and you can just tell it's steroids.
Yeah,
like, and they're like, and basically, one of the YouTubers that I love, Zach, he does this thing where he talks about, like, if this dude can get in shape, like, you have no excuse. And someone's like, dude, it's steroids. Like, that dude, like, I guarantee you, he's a producer, he's an actor, he's doing all that stuff. He does not have the time to get into shape that fast.
It's no coincidence that Namor was getting a bunch of simps on Twitter thirsting after that dad bod. They're kind of spreading that dad bod propaganda through this movie.
Mary can propagate the dad bod propaganda. I'm here to body shame the men into telling them
I'm
that
on no one's side. I'm not
be in better shape.
Look,
it's important to say bullying is good and moral. Bullying is good and moral.
But at least the women were attractive. No fatties.
Shaved heads. Not nuts about that.
There were some baldies.
The women who had hair looked pretty good.
But the women were all in shape.
Yes.
The women were all in great shape. The men were all kind of tubby and average looking. And I'm just saying, weird. 300 wasn't that long ago. Guys, we need to make, like...
Well, M'Baku was obviously huge.
He's not like ripped.
He was kind of like,
was he in bulk season?
Yeah, he was bulking.
He's definitely bulking.
He was dirty bulking.
They live in the snowy mountains, all right. It's constantly winter there. That's bulk season.
Or maybe what it is like all the men are still mourning after the passing of T'Challa, and they've gotten off their routine.
And they get the funeral food.
Yeah, and
lockdown was hard for them too.
Oh yes. Oh, there's also that's an interesting thing to talk about. There is definitely some cinematography choices in this movie that tell you that it was filmed during COVID.
This I didn't have the eye for.
Me neither.
There's a lot of shots that could have been pulled together into two shots or over the shoulder shots that they don't do, because to do it over the shoulder, if they were going to do it in COVID would have had to been green screen, and they couldn't do that, so they couldn't actually shoot it like that. So it felt like there's some close-ups in places where there wouldn't have been close-ups before. The close-ups with Shuri worked because she has to show a lot of emotion on her face throughout it, but it felt like there was definitely some COVID protocol shooting. Her when Ramonda comes into the UN, her like guard have masks on, like which that felt like a weird
kind of random.
I don't know. I don't remember if the same thing was held true in the original Black Panther or in Captain America Civil War. I don't remember if there was a similar set of characters there, but it felt like COVID to me.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is let's get the men in better shape, and maybe like we should have some more real world emotional experiences together, so that the height of our emotional resonance in the world today is not done through Marvel movies.
Yes.
Just seems like a fair thing.
You know what you have to do.
Yep. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.